Hello, everybody. Welcome. Appreciate everybody joining us. We're going to get started here in just a minute. While I'm just kind of introducing things, I'm going to pull up a poll here so that you guys can tell us a little bit about yourselves. And that will help us make sure we stay focused on what's most important to you during the webinar today. So, you should see that now on your screen. So if you wouldn't mind telling us a little bit about yourself, there's just, I think, 4 or 5 questions there that are pretty much, pick and click. So please update those questions here while we get started. I'm Craig Klein. I'm the CEO of Sales Nexus. And we've been helping customers start their first email campaigns for over 15 years now. And so what I mean specifically by that is that we've been helping customers that have really never done any email marketing before, a lot. Of course, we work with others that are way more experienced, but what we've learned is that getting started with email marketing can be really difficult and sort of counterintuitive. And there's just some basic stuff that if you know the answers to those things, you can really set yourself up for success. So that's what we're going to focus on today is, those basic things that most people that are new to email marketing don't know. And for those of you who may not be complete newbies, we're going to get into, okay, now that we know those basic things, how do we really optimize on them and really make things hum? So hopefully a little bit for beginners as well as for, those of you who are a little more experienced. The other thing I wanted to mention is, Sales Nexus is a marketing automation and CRM platform. And so our unique way of looking at this is in creating email campaigns that are going to engage with customers that you have an ongoing relationship with. So if you're in a B2B world, then, and your salespeople are following up with these people and investing a lot of time in building relationships, how can emails strengthen those relationships? But also if you're in a pure e-commerce or, B2C or retail type business, how can you generate more sales, repeat buyers, things like that with email marketing? And how can you make that easy to manage? So we're going to touch on all of that here today. Okay, so I see that it looks like about 2/3 of you guys have entered your answers into the poll. I appreciate that. So a lot of people using all kinds of different email systems. Actually, I think I have to first hit the end poll and then share results. And now I think you'll start seeing the results yourself. A lot of people wanting to generate leads. So that's great. We're going to definitely target that topic today and staying in touch with clients as well. Let's see, best practices. Yeah, that's what today's all about. And a lot of people that are not spending a lot of money on digital marketing today. So what that tells me is you're seeing email marketing as an affordable way to start driving some traffic to your website and getting some, generating some leads and things like that. Most people are B2B and a lot of people using all kinds of different CRMs, I guess. What we're going to try and do is talk about best practices without getting into the technology platform that you might be using, so that hopefully you can take what you learned today and go use it in the tools that you have today. We will talk a little bit about what more advanced tools like Sales Nexus can do to help you automate things, but that really won't be the focus of today's webinar. Okay, let's get started. So we did the survey. So the payoff with email marketing is significant. And it can be really fast too. That's what's so great about it. You can see here, typically we see a 10 to 20% increase in sales within just a few months from a simple lead nurturing campaign. It's really just math. Your sales team is out there talking to a lot of people and only, 20 or 30% of them buy. And then they pretty much just throw those leads over the ones that don't buy, they throw them over their shoulder and they just keep going after the next guy, right? Man, if you just stay in touch with those people, they will turn into customers. Doesn't take a lot of money either. Just a few emails to create and maybe, a day's worth of work. Very, very healthy investment of your time and money. Lead generation, the sky's the limit there. Depends on your market and who you target, but typically small and medium-sized businesses have carved out some niche that they're targeting. Might be, your local geographic area, might be a certain industry, or other things. But if you just step away from that for a minute and you think about who are all the people in the whole wide world that we're not talking to today that could use our product or service? What if we just created an email campaign that's going to get us in front of them? Very affordable to do, and the potential return could be monstrous. And then sales automation, you're already spending money, spending human capital to bring in sales, right? Let's make that more efficient and easier and make it work better. That can be a little more complex to set up and get going, but it can pay off in big, big ways. 25 to 50% increase in sales in 2 months, mostly because, salespeople are human and they sometimes don't do a great job of staying in touch with all the right people. Let's set up some automation and some emails that are going to do that for them. We're going to talk about how to do all of those things today. Okay, so when I talk about lead nurturing, this is what I was talking about. Here's an example. This is not rocket science. Super, super simple. This is from a client using Sales Nexus for quite a long time now. And all they're doing is they're posting blog articles on their website about, their industry and the problems that their customers have, and, tips and tricks, and it's kind of a industrial product. So, sometimes some technical updates and things like that. And then they send out an email to their entire list of about 7,500 people saying, we've got a new blog article. It's about this. Take a look. So their salespeople are focused on a very short list of customers that are currently, quoting, they're quoting and proposing and presenting and all of that stuff, right? But then they got these other 7,500 people that they know sometimes need the kind of products that they sell. And they're using these blogs to stay in front of them. And guess what? Every one of their sales reps will tell you that at least once a month, they're getting somebody that they haven't talked to in months or years who's been getting these blog articles, who reaches out to them and says, hey, I've been getting your emails and we got a new project I need a quote on, right? They're selling big ticket items that are $25,000 or way more, sometimes multi-million-dollar projects. And so one lead is worth a lot of money to them. So it's really that simple. Just stay in front of the customer, right? And with an automated email campaign, you can make that super easy and affordable. A little more evidence here. Here's a survey that was done by Ascend2 asking marketers, what do they think the most effective online tactic for lead generation is? Email marketing, right? Almost 50% of them said email marketing is the most effective. I think that's because it's so relative to everything else. It's pretty easy and it's super affordable. The other part about email marketing that you have to keep in mind is that, like I touched on earlier, it's all about touches, right? And I remember back when I was getting started in sales and marketing a long time ago, they used to say that you had to touch a customer 3 or 4 or 5 times before you made a sale. And so that's when I learned as a salesperson to be good at follow-up, right? Well, guess what? Over the last couple of decades, that number's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. You have to touch your customers a lot of times to stay top of mind with them and to earn their trust. So you can see here, most salespeople give up after the first attempt. By the 4th attempt, 89% of salespeople have given up. So if all you do is have a companion lead nurturing campaign that's going to keep emails going out to these people, even after your salespeople give up, you're increasing your odds of success tremendously. Okay, so why are emails so much more affordable and easy and so on, like I've said? Well, you're just going to get the best ROI because the investment is so minimal. You know, I mean, if you've ever talked to anybody in digital marketing and talked about doing an ad campaign, it can get really expensive really fast, right? You've got to create the creative, you've got to set up the campaign, and then you got to start paying per click or whatever and experimenting. And most of them will tell you, well, we're going to have to run it for a month or two and see what happens before we really should expect results. So you're, a few $1,000s in before you're really even seeing any results. With email, you send out an email, you look at the results, you make adjustments, you do it again. And the incremental cost is almost nothing. So you can test messaging and iterate on that and get it right and then scale up. And what I like to suggest to people is, especially like a startup or if you're introducing a new product or targeting a new market, then use email marketing to get the messaging right, because you can iterate on it all you want. And then when it starts to really work, you're getting good responses. Now you know what messaging is connecting with your audience. Now go spend the big dollars on ads, because now you've already figured out the messaging issue. Okay, so let's get down to the basics. There's some fundamental building blocks of an email campaign that you have to understand in order to manage it and optimize it and make it work. We're going to talk about bounces and opt-outs and opens and clicks and subject lines and calls to action, so that you can look at your analytics in your system and figure out what's working and what's not and what to do about it. So first of all, what's a bounce? Well, that just means a hard bounce means the email address is invalid, right? I sent to this email address and the mail server said, hey, I don't recognize that mailbox, go away. So you cannot send email to that mailbox. One thing you need to know about that is that some spam filters that corporations have running on their mail servers will they will give you a hard bounce as a way to keep you from sending more spam to that mailbox. So it makes it a little bit tricky, but just something to be aware of. A soft bounce means things like the mailbox is full. And so we tried to send to that mailbox and the server didn't say, hey, there's no mailbox like that. It just said, I can't accept that mail right now. Or maybe we didn't get any response at all. Maybe their mail server's down temporarily or something like that. So that would be a soft bounce. Typically what systems will do is when it's a hard bounce, it gets marked as a bounce and you're not going to be able to send to that mailbox again until you change the email address for that person. If it's a soft bounce, we'll keep trying for a number of times. In Sales Nexus case, we do it 5 times. And if it's still bouncing after 5 attempts, then we're going to mark it as a hard bounce. Because what you don't want to do is keep trying to send to mailboxes that are invalid because that will cause that mail server and their spam filters and things to start marking all your emails to all of their email boxes as spam or blocking them. Let's see, I almost forgot earlier. I want to pull up the chat. Well, I say that, now I can't find it. Well, Mila is watching the chat. You guys, if you have questions as we're going through things, Mila's watching the chat, and you can type in a question there, and she'll respond to you and/or let me know if there's something that a lot of people are asking about, so I can make sure and address it. Okay, so like here's an example of in Sales Nexus, we're gonna give you a record on the customer record that says, hey, this mailbox is marked as a bounce, right? And so you can see here, we're saying it was a hard bounce back on the November the 20th. And then after that, you've continued to add them to campaigns, but we're not sending to it. We're just letting you know that email wasn't sent because it's still marked as a bounced email address. Okay, so what's the difference between a bounce and an opt-out? An opt-out means you're sending to a good mailbox. There's nothing wrong with an email address. But I, as the recipient, the reader, the owner of that mailbox, am saying, I don't really want to get your emails anymore, right? I've unsubscribed. So, you know, most systems put in a link at the bottom that says unsubscribe or opt out or something like that. And the recipient can click it and uncheck themselves. And that it works the same way. Basically, if you try to send to that person in the future, the system just won't send them that email. In Sales Nexus, you know, in most systems, you can set up different lists so people can opt in and out of your marketing emails versus your, you know, important service updates and things like that. And yeah, so then in the system, you can go and look up a given person or email address and see, are they subscribed or not, you know. And when you're in a B2B world and you have salespeople talking to these folks, sometimes you want to have the salespeople taking a look at that and saying, hey, Mr. Customer, I noticed you opted out of our emails. Tell me about that. Can I opt you back in? What are we doing wrong? What would you find more interesting? That kind of thing. Okay, so now we're going to talk about opens and clicks, and that's really the name of the game when it comes to optimizing an email campaign. Your benchmarks are, you want to get about a 10 to 20% open rate and a 1 to 2% click rate. It depends on the industry and who you're emailing. You know, if you're sending to clients that you have a long time relationship with, these numbers should be higher. If you're sending to a cold list that's never heard from you ever before, probably going to be a little lower. But these are benchmarks across all kinds of industries and different types of emails and things. So what that means is if you have a list of 1,000 emails, then you should expect 100 to 200 opens, meaning they just looked at the email. They didn't click on anything. And you should expect 10 to 20 clicks, meaning they read the email and they clicked the button or the link to watch your video, to go to your website, to download the PDF, whatever that was that you were asking them to do in the email. So this is why lead nurturing pays off so well. Because let's assume that you're only getting a 1% click rate, you know, because that click is really that's what you want. An open is not, you know, looking at your email, that's great, but coming to my website or downloading my PDF or scheduling an appointment, that's what I really want, right? So that's what we're really after, is that click. So in the beginning, let's say you've just got, you know, you put your leads from the trade show last month into the system. And so you've got, you know, a couple hundred or 500 or 1,000 leads on your email list. Well, 1% of 1,000 isn't that many, right? It's not going to be a real game changer. But next month, you put the other trade show leads in there, and now it's twice as big. And the month after that, it's keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And now 1% after a few months might start adding up to 50 or 60 or 100 or more leads or engagements, or however you want to categorize that. And so that's what it's about. It's just discipline of adding everybody into your list and keeping something going out to that list on a regular basis. And it'll just grow over time. Okay, so let's get real clear on opens versus clicks. So when I look at my email inbox, like this is Gmail, right? And I'm reading through the emails. This is not an open. I'm just looking at your subject line, right? Who's it from and what's the subject line? That's not an open. An open is when I actually click on one of those and I look at the actual body of the email. That's an open. What you need to know is the way we track that is by embedding a tiny little image in your email, so that when they view that email, that image gets pulled from the server or displayed in their email program. And that's how we know it was opened. But that's not a perfect thing, right? Because you know, your email program, you know how you can set a setting that won't display images unless you click a link like this? Well, if the person you're sending to has that turned on, then you're not going to know that they opened it unless they happen to display the images. So it's not a perfect measure. And that's why you can't really use it as a, you know, hey, this person just told me they want to buy something by opening. It's not really, doesn't work that way. And some people that don't register and open may have actually shown some interest. You're just not seeing that they opened it. So it's not perfect. Click, however, is a lot more accurate. So I've opened up your email, and here on the left, I read it and I clicked the button to get started. Well, I mean, that's a pretty good sign, right? Or I read this email that's totally text and I clicked one of these links to watch your video or take a tour. Again, pretty good sign. If you think about it from the recipient's point of view, I'm a busy professional. I got a lot going on every day. My inbox is constantly filling up, and it's always a fight to stay on top of that, right? So when I look at my inbox, I'm just looking for stuff I can delete. The fact that I even open it is kind of a good sign. But if I then read your email and click on something to go to your website and spend a little bit more of my time on that, wow, that's a pretty strong statement, right? So I'm saying I have this problem. I'm interested in products like this. That's why the click is so important. Okay, so how do we use that information? Well, when you're doing, you're looking at your analytics on your campaign, the system's going to tell you open rates and click rates like you're seeing here. So this email campaign that we're looking at here got a 22% open rate and a 6.5% click rate. That's really good. It's from one of our campaigns, and you know, it's kind of it's one of those situations where you would expect to get better responses. It's basically, if you started a free trial of Sales Nexus, we're sending you an email that says, hey, we'd like to set an appointment with you so we can learn more about you and tell you about how Sales Nexus can help your business. So, you know, you've signed up for a free trial, so it's likely that you're going to be interested in that, right? But here's the subject line, right? Let's get this party started. That's a good subject line. It has worked really well for us. How I know that is with the open rate, right? Because when I look at my inbox, I see the subject line. If I don't know you personally, you know, I see the from address that it was sent from, in my inbox. I don't know you, so I'm not opening it for that reason. But for some reason, the subject line, let's get this party started, that causes people to open that email up. So that's how you use the open rate. If you're not getting a lot of opens, your subject line's not working. Change the subject line. Obviously, if you're not getting a lot of opens, you're not going to get very many clicks either. So everything kind of starts there. Okay. So now, some things you got to watch out in terms of just list hygiene. I don't want to dive too deep into this because it totally depends on where you get your lists, how you're building them, what system you're working with now, etc. But obviously there's, just bad emails that won't work, like they don't have the @ sign in them or something like that, right? But also you want to avoid emails that are like sales @ and info @. And when I say that, I mean, you don't want those addresses in your list to send to. And the reason you don't want those is because a lot of spam filters will see that you're sending to a lot of generic emails like that, and they immediately flag all of your emails as spam. Because that kind of indicates that maybe you've, bought a list from one of these web scraping type tools or something like that. But also, you don't want to send from an email like that either. Really, for the same basic reason, it just kind of seems like a spam. So that's a mistake I see a lot of companies making. If you have a bunch of salespeople, then you don't want to send from any one of those salespeople because that wouldn't be fair to the other guys, right? And so you end up sending from sales @ yourcompany.com. But that really damages your delivery rate. So like what Sales Nexus does, when you load in your list, we'll check for all of that and we'll let you know if you have too high a percentage of those kind of problems and give you some options for cleansing the list and things like that. So a cleanse means running it against a database that maintains a list of spam traps and things like that. If you don't know what a spam trap is basically email addresses that are made to look like they're real people, but it's used by spam filters. So if you're sending to that email address, the spam filter knows that you're sending a mass email and it's not a one-on-one email, and so it's going to treat you accordingly. So you don't want to have spam traps on your list. And so these cleansing services can identify those and take them off your list. Obviously, you don't want to have invalid emails as well, because again, if you send a big blast out to a list that you've never sent to before, and there's a bunch of Gmail addresses on there, and but a lot of them are invalid. Well, Gmail's going to see that you're sending to 20 or 100 invalid emails on their server. And they immediately go, okay, all the emails coming from this sender are spam. So you want these cleansing services will find the spam traps and validate all the emails for you before you send your email out. And that just increases your delivery rate overall. Okay. The things that we see people doing wrong a lot. Sorry, I'm still trying to find my chat here. Let's see if I can.
It looks like we do have a question from Daniel. What is the suggestion for the sender name when we have many sales reps and want to use a campaign that covers them all?
Well, that's a great question, and it kind of depends on the system that you use and what its options are. Like for instance, what we see a lot of our customers do is in our system, you can set it up so that if, I'm salesman A and you're salesman B, then my customers will get email, all the emails will come from me, but your customers, the emails will come from you. And our system just automatically figures that out for you. So that's really probably the best option, because then if somebody hits reply and says, hey, this is cool, I want to talk to you about a quote, then it goes right to their salesperson, right? If that's not an option with the system that you have, then, you might use, the marketing person's actual name, or create, if there's somebody on the team that can be kind of the clearinghouse of any responses, and forward those out to the salespeople, use their name. Or you could create a fictitious name. I've seen other people do that, and that can work. But you don't want to ignore it. If you use a fictitious email, like, bob.jones@yourcompany.com, when there's no Bob Jones at your company, then you got to check those emails, the responses, because some people will just hit reply and say, take me off your list or something like that. And you want to respect that. Otherwise, you're going to get yourself in spam filter trouble. Okay. So the things we see people doing wrong, we talked about it already, really. Salespeople are not that great at following up on leads. They'll try a few times, and if they're not getting a response, they're going to move on to the next guy, right? There's one way or the other, there should be an end to how many times a salesperson follows up on a lead, right? You don't want them calling dead leads all day long, right? But you don't want to ignore those people at the same time. What I always say is that when somebody says no to you, as a salesperson, you talk with a client, you build a relationship, you learn all about them, you tell them about your solutions, and they just say, no, not right now, right? They almost never do they say, no, go away, I don't want to ever do business with you, right? That's almost never happens. So the point is, what they're usually saying is, no, not right now. It's not in the budget this year, or our committee that makes those decisions doesn't meet till next quarter, or we're under contract currently with one of your competitors, blah, 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 right? So the point is, the door may open for you in the future. And so just stay in front of them with some automated emails, right? Clients, same thing. You've got your sales team, you're paying them to go out there and hunt and find new customers. But in a lot of small businesses, especially, and even bigger businesses, sometimes the actual paying clients aren't getting as much attention. And that can be a mistake, obviously. I mean, we've all heard the statistics and the studies that, it's a lot easier to sell something to an existing client than it is a new client. In most businesses, there's a lot of opportunities for upsells and additional products and services, and automated email campaigns can really be effective in that area. And then potential customers that you've never talked to before. So the question there is, how do you build up that list of people to target? But man, when you think about the cost of, say, building up a list of, a phone list of potential customers in some new market, or going to a trade show where you're introducing yourself to some new industry or market or something like that. Those are very expensive things to do, especially if you're then going to have salespeople spend their time calling all of those folks. What if you could create an email campaign that's just going to introduce your company and your brand to those potential customers, and establish a relationship of trust where you're not sending them emails that are, hey, look at me, buy from me. You're sending them emails that are more content based. And then your salespeople follow up to maybe the people that are clicking to read those articles, like we talked about earlier. The client that I pointed out in the beginning. So these are 3 really easy ways to really boost the bottom line with simple email marketing campaigns. Now, the things that you must master to be successful with this. You got to know who you're emailing, right? Don't just throw everybody into a list and everybody's going to get the same email. It might work in some businesses, you know, if you're selling, I don't know, real estate or mortgages or, you know, more consumer type things, it kind of can work. But the bottom line is the more specific you make your messaging to an individual customer, the more effective it's going to be. The better your open rates, the better your click rates, the better your conversion rates on your website, the better your close rates with your salespeople. So the more you can target and segment your audience, the more effective you're going to be. That means you got to know where they're coming from, what's wrong in their world that you can help them with, and speak to that need. If you can do that, email marketing is super easy. So once you've answered that question, you know, let's see, we talked about real estate and mortgage. So maybe I'm a mortgage broker and I'm looking for people who want to do a home equity loan, right? So if that's my target market, then I know I'm talking to people who probably want to add on to their home. You know, they're wanting to do some additions and renovations and things like that, or they need cash for something else. Maybe they want to start a business or something like that. So I want to create emails that say in the subject line, looking for cash to fund your renovation or looking for cash to fund your new business. And then if I get that email and I open it up and I read that you're offering a super easy and low rate way for me to do a home equity loan, wow, I'm going to end up on your website probably, right? And that's the way this works, you know. So you want to get the subject line to speak to that pain that they have, that need that they have, and then in the email, give them something that's going to help them learn about solutions to that problem that they have. The one thing you just cannot do, especially if you're sending to a cold list, you know, it's one thing if somebody comes to your website and they sign up for a free trial or they make their first purchase. Then it's okay to say, hey, welcome to my company, and here's what you need to know about us and how to do business with us and how to get help and other options that we have. That's all appropriate. But if you're sending emails to somebody that has not done any kind of business with you, there's no engagement whatsoever, then don't be talking about yourself. Talk about them. Talk about what's wrong in their world that you can help them with. So here's a couple examples. I'm going to talk in a minute about how Sales Nexus can help with designing campaigns like this. But you can see here, Nighthawk is one of our customers, and they make custom firearms. Really fabulous handmade guns that are super expensive, like crazy expensive. I was blown away when they told me how much they cost. And their pitch, they sell through dealers, you know, the local gun shop, you know, in the strip mall in your neighborhood, right? And so their salespeople are out there trying to find dealers to start stocking their guns. And their pitch to those dealers is, because our guns are so much more expensive and we offer a healthy margin on those guns, you sell one of our guns, you make as much profit as you do when you sell 5 of the normal gun brands that we all know the names of. So here you go. Here's an email that goes right at that. Are you struggling to make a profit on your current inventory? Are you looking for a higher profit margin per sale? We have a special invitation for you. Become a Nighthawk dealer. Click the button to become a dealer. It takes you to the page where they can fill out a form and a salesperson's going to call them, right? Here's the key. Look at this email. Nice images, you know, they got some good artwork. But in terms of writing the email, it's 3 sentences. That's the best thing you can do for your customers, is make it easy for them to know what you want them to do and why. What's in it for them? Keep it simple. Speak to their problem. That's how this email opens up, right? Do you have this problem? If so, you might want to become a dealer, right? Okay, here's another example. This is a company targeting doctors. They sell medical devices. Doctors are a different animal, and I've heard all kinds of people talk about, well, we target doctors, so I don't really think emails are going to work with them. And I've seen a lot of companies make it work really well. It's just about mastering these principles that we're talking about right here and now. In their case, those guys love to learn, right? They want to know the latest and greatest technology. So when you're selling a medical device that has, some new capabilities, some new innovations, man, they feel like it's part of their job. It's their professional responsibility to be up to speed on that stuff, right? So that's what this email is doing. It's getting right into early detection of the symptoms related to diabetes, gives physicians and patients the ability to make changes that can impact the disease progression, et cetera, et cetera. They're getting right into, here's what you need to know about this technology. And then, if you've read this and you want to learn more about it, click here to schedule an appointment with us. Here's a meeting planner that targets, corporations that are planning big events, and they'll arrange your speakers and everything else about the meeting. So they're targeting, sort of the marketing director and event planners within big corporations. If you're a meeting planner, you know how overwhelming it is to try to pick from over 20,000 available professional speakers. So that's the problem that they solve. They're getting right to it. Here's why you can trust me. Schedule a time for us to talk. Houston Siding, they sell windows and door replacements and siding and stuff like that. And what they really want people to do is go to their website and look at pictures of what they've done, because they believe once people see it, they see the difference. And so that's what this email does. Just see some examples. There's a mortgage company. They're sending to brokers who need to know what today's rates are. So it's a very simple messaging strategy. The broker really has to take a look so that they know the rates, so that when they're talking to customers today, they know what their options are. But in their case, the key was automating it. Before using Sales Nexus, somebody was spending an hour or two every morning getting the email together and then pulling together the right list and sending it out through, a more simple email or more basic email program. With Sales Nexus, they were able to just automate it. So it just happens every morning. Community Coffee, same kind of idea. They're targeting people that, have a break room in their office. And they're, so with boosting morale for 76% of employees help. So if I'm an HR person or an office manager, if that gets my attention, well, then they probably want to talk to me, right? Eagle One is a marketing company where they provide several different services, and we created sort of a, ongoing series of emails that will, introduce those customers to those different services. And it just links them all together and sends them out, once every week or two. Here's another one. Are you having trouble finding shipments for your small business? Boom. That's the problem they solve. So it's that simple, really. Figure out what that question is that you need to ask people. Do you have this problem? Because if you do, I got a solution for you, right? That's all your email really needs to say. So another couple of examples. Here's a video. I'll play real quick. I hope you guys can hear it.
Hi, this is Pandya Kumar with Mortgage Financial Services.
And I'm John Godby with Teacher Home Buyer.
So John and I have partnered up and we have worked as a team to contact a huge number of people on a monthly basis. And we use Sales Nexus for this. John, I love Sales Nexus. What do you think about that?
I think it's great. I can type up an email and send it to 100,000 people. We buy several licenses so that we can reach that number, but it's worth every penny of that advertising budget. Because when we send an email to somebody, all they have to do is click reply to send us a message or ask us a question. If we want to know who opened it and how many people responded to it, we have all of that information at our fingertips. It gives us the email address of every person who opened it. So we have unlimited access to the information.
Okay, so obviously that was a little bit of a commercial for Sales Nexus, but the main reason I wanted you guys to hear that is that what he's saying is they built up this big list. Bondia is a mortgage broker. John is a real estate agent, and they target teachers with a special package for teachers to buy homes. And so they built up this big list of teachers, and they send out, as he said, 100,000 or more emails, and that's their entire sales funnel. They send out those email blasts, and they just respond to the inquiries that come in. They've been doing that for years now with Sales Nexus. So that's how this can work. It's about, in their case, because they're so targeted, that's part of why it works so well. Okay, so some things that you absolutely should be doing now, and that none of which require a lot of cost or time to put together. You know, a welcome series for your customers, you know, new customers. Hey, welcome to my company. Like we talked about before, here's what you need to know about us. If you're introducing new products and services and things like that, or entering new markets. Seasonal stuff, I mean, we all see that, you know, holiday emails and things like that, but they can be valuable. My recommendation is don't just make it a, you know, happy Halloween email, but make it a happy Halloween. Here's our special offer to people for Halloween, you know, drive some business with it. Automated email series that nurture people through down the right path that you want to follow them. There's some path that you want every new prospect or customer to follow with your company. Automate a process of putting the little carrots out there, the breadcrumbs, to lead them down that path. Doesn't mean you don't need salespeople anymore. This is just helping. So when your salespeople can't connect with them, the emails might. New clients, sphere of influence. If you're in real estate or mortgage, you probably know that term. If you're not, you could think of it as a referral campaign. There's all these people, vendors, friends and family, colleagues, past customers, etc., that could be referring business to you, right? Let them know what's going on with you. It could be just a monthly blog post, you know, kind of like a newsletter, and an email that points to the blog post. But if you do that, you're going to stay top of mind with those people so that when they're talking to somebody that needs what you sell, you come to mind, right? Okay, now here's the ones that you absolutely have to get started with right now, because you're leaving a ton of money on the table if you're not. Lost sale campaign. Salesperson put a proposal in your hand. So that means you've already invested a lot of money in that lead, right? You spent money to acquire the lead. The salesperson spent a lot of time with them. People in your team have put together proposals and done engineering and who knows what else, right? Now, they said no to the proposal. Well, let's not just throw them away. Let's stay in touch with them, because like we talked about before, it's usually a matter of timing, and eventually maybe they're not going to be happy with the vendor they chose, or the contract ends. And if you've been staying in touch with them and earning their trust, you're going to hear back from them. Previous customers, so people that bought from you in the past, much easier to sell to them in the future. So, let's automate the process of staying in front of them. Referrals and reviews. We all know how important reviews and things are online anymore. So let's make it easy for people to do that. Let's send them an email after, a week or two after their purchase. Hey, would you review us online? Don't worry about it. I see a lot of people getting squeamish about that because they're afraid they're going to end up with a bunch of bad reviews. Don't worry about it. When you do it, you will get more good than bad, almost, unless you're in real bad shape. But almost always, you get more people are going to want to say good things about you than bad things. The ones that are really upset for some reason, they're already doing a bad review anyway without getting an email from them, right? Okay, so now let's get into the mechanics a little bit, because this is really where the rubber hits the road. If you know all about the opens and clicks and how to use the subject line to optimize the opens and how to talk about the customer's pain or problem in order to get their attention in the email and get the click, then you can write an email that will get results. But that's just one email, right? And that's kind of the problem, is most of us tend to think about, the CEO will have a light bulb will go off one morning and he'll say, we should send out an email to all of these people about that. And everybody scrambles around and we send that email out and we get what we get, and it's great. And then we don't do anything else until somebody has a new idea, right? What works way better is if it's consistent and organized, right? So let's create a strategy that's going to automate this, and you don't have to scramble around so much. It just happens. So number one, let's talk about what you don't want to do in a lead nurturing strategy. You don't want to talk about your company. You don't want to say, this is what I see so often. A salesperson or a business owner will write their first email, and it'll be basically, hey, we provide this service, and I really think it could be beneficial to you in these ways, and I'd like to schedule a call with you. That will never work very well, because they're not ready for that yet. Because you're talking about yourself, right? If you have this problem, I can fix it for you. That's close, but not quite there, right? We have to earn their trust first by saying, if you have this problem, I have something that you can take advantage of right now for free. Just click here. I'm not going to try and sell you anything, right? And then, of course, there's the special offer. Save 20% on this or that, right? If that's your first email to somebody, then it's not going to work. Here's the right way to do it. Like I mentioned just a second ago. Create an email that says, hey, if you have this problem, here's 3 different ways that you could potentially solve that problem. Totally free and easy to do. 4 totally free tips to increase profits. Simple tips to improve efficiency, collaboration, health, whatever it is you do. Are maintenance costs killing your business? Okay, if I get that email, that's your subject line. I get that email, I open it up, and you say, if maintenance costs on this or that type of equipment or whatever are, killing your profits, then you may have a problem with this. Click here to learn more about that, right? You're not trying to sell them anything. You're just trying to identify that that person has a problem that you can help them with, right? Now you know, out of 1,000 people that you emailed, here's the 10 or 20 who took the time to come to your website or watch your video or whatever. They're saying, they're raising their hand and they're saying, I got a problem you can help me with. It might be worth having a salesperson call those 10 or 20 people, but also we could automate the follow-up as well. So that's where a lead engagement strategy comes in. So I sent out my lead nurturing campaign to my list of cold leads. And then anybody that interacts with those emails, clicks on the lead nurturing emails, I'm going to put them on a lead engagement strategy, because now we know here's the short list of people that apparently have a significant problem because they took the time to read the email and click and come to our site or watch our video or whatever. So they're showing more interest than everybody else, right? So now they've told us they have a problem. Now let's ask them, is this problem an issue? Is it eating profits for? Is it making you tired? You know, whatever it is that you do for people, right? Have you given up trying to improve profits? Have you given up trying? That's the key phrase there. The fastest way to grow profits, get fit, reduce costs, whatever. Tired of waiting for things to change. So in other words, I know you have a problem. I'm going to try and kind of really make you think about the fact that it's hurting, right? And you want to change it. And then you open that email and we're going to say, hey, if you have this problem, then, you know, here's some options for you, right? So here's the way this all works. You got your lead nurturing campaign, like we talked about earlier. You want to make, if you can, create at least 2 or 3 emails and, you know, send them out once a week or every couple of weeks or whatever you think is appropriate. And then if anybody clicks on that campaign, they automatically go on your lead engagement strategy. And it depends on who you're emailing and what your market is, but you may want to have those folks, you know, also get a call from a salesperson. Or you may, one of these emails might be, hey, if you'd like to schedule an appointment for a consultation or something like that, click here. You know, you can use one of these calendar booking type of links in your email. Okay, so I'm gonna real quick see if I can't figure out why I can't. There it is. Sorry guys, the chat was totally buried under everything else. Now I finally found it. So let me just take a, let's see, I'm just taking a look to see if there's any burning questions here. That we, let's see. Daniel's asking about what platform can I use to mass email? Well, Sales Nexus is one. There's a lot of options out there, as you probably know. But definitely Sales Nexus can help you with that. You know, our unique value proposition, really, to be totally straightforward with everybody, is it's a CRM and email marketing solution together. So if you're in B2B world or any kind of world where you have actually salespeople involved in the transactions with your customers, then it just makes everything easy because it's all in one system. So let's talk about what you got to do to get started with this, to set up, manage, and optimize your campaign and start realizing some real success. You got to create a few lead nurturing emails. Don't go crazy. What you should not do is go hire some marketing consultant and start paying them hundreds of dollars an hour to do this for you. That, I can assure you, is a big waste of money. What you should do is just write one based on what we've talked about here today and send it out and see what your open and click rate is. And if the open rate's low, change the subject line and do it again. If your click rate is low, then change the text, the body of the email, and do it again, you know, until you get it right. Because that's free, you know. you're paying your email marketing system some flat monthly fee. Typically you can send out as many emails as you want. Do it. Use it as a test bed to get things right. So you got your lead nurturing campaign going out, and then you create 2 or 3 lead engagement emails for everybody that shows some engagement with the lead nurturing campaign. And these emails are simple. We're not spending a bunch of money on graphic artists to create beautiful pictures for us. Go to Google Images and download some images and use those. Use your logo, use some photos of your team, use some photos of your customers, anything you have available. Keep it simple, because what we're doing initially is we're testing, and we're going to let the results tell us what works, and then spend more money on the things that work, right? So this webinar is really our way of introducing you to our email marketing masterclass. Our upcoming modules in the course are going to be, number 1, a deeper dive into managing your campaigns when you've got the analytics and you're, like I just talked about, and the opens are low. How do you come up with new subject lines? When you're looking at the click rate, how do we optimize the call to action? How do we write an email that really gets the clicks, gets the responses? We're going to get into cleansing the list and list hygiene. Then another module will be choosing your target audience, putting together kind of a persona, a picture of who you're talking to, and then segmenting your list based on those things so that you can really target messages to the right people. Then writing the messages. Now that we've kind of come up with our targets, how do we write messages for each of those targets? List building and list acquisition. If I've only got a few hundred on my list, a 1 to 2% click rate is not going to get me very far. I need to get a bigger list, right? So how do I build a bigger list? How do I buy a list in some cases? What are the do's and don'ts there? Then we're going to dive into calls to action specifically. What works and what doesn't. Managing conversions and leads. So now you're getting results. People are clicking, they're coming to your website, they're signing up on the website for your free trial or to download your PDF or whatever. How do you manage those leads, and what do you do with them, and what kind of campaign should they go on, and how do you track the results, and is this working or not? And then putting all this together and creating these ongoing sequences so that every customer is getting some message from you at the right time, and it's the right message for the right customer. So those are each going to be monthly modules in our email marketing masterclass. So that starts on March 11, will be our first class. 7 monthly meetings, about 2 hours a meeting, and it's going to be kind of like a mastermind. It's going to be a group of people all showing up with their campaigns and their problems and their challenges, and we're gonna talk about best practices based on each subject or each module, and then we're going to brainstorm together and try to help each other. So there'll be Q&A and coaching. So if you want to get involved in the masterclass, it's $1,000 for all 7 modules. If you're already a Sales Nexus client, then it's only $500. You will get an email follow-up to register for the masterclass here tomorrow. So join the masterclass if you're wanting to get started with email marketing quickly and efficiently without having to figure it all out yourself. Believe me, you will spend more than $500 worth of time and stress trying to figure it all out yourself. With the masterclass, we're going to help you be successful. I'll guarantee you're going to be successful if you go through and learn all of this that we've learned over the last 15 years. You're going to be leveraging our 20 plus years of experience and getting all of our feedback and guidance, not just from us, but from the other members of the team or the class. So like we just looked at the end of the masterclass, you will have this. You will have your lead nurturing campaign. You will have your lead engagement campaign. You will have great looking emails that are performing well and generating business for you. Guaranteed. We're going to help you set up, manage, and optimize your campaign. Get it going and performing for you. Now, if you say, hey, I don't even have the time to mess around with this, then we also have an email marketing service where you can just basically get into a meeting with us and tell us, here's who I'm targeting, here's what I want them to do, and we'll write the campaign for you. We'll create the lead nurturing campaign and the lead engagement emails. We'll help you clean up and organize your list, and we'll send out the campaign and manage it and optimize it for you. All you got to do is respond to the leads. That service is $500 a month. So it's really just about the value of your time and the opportunity cost, right? With our email marketing service, you're going to be seeing results within a month because we're going to go to work and get it right for you right out of the box. With the email marketing masterclass, you're going to learn things a little bit at a time over the course of 7 months. And so, you know, it might be 2 or 3 or 4 months down the road before you're really starting to get your campaign together and it's really starting to generate results. So, next steps. First of all, register for the masterclass. You will get an email tomorrow that'll let you register for the March 11th first module of the course. You can also start a free trial of Sales Nexus. And you know, you can send out some emails in your free trial and get a little experience that way. It's not going to cost you a dime. Also, and there'll be links to all this in that same follow-up email you're going to get. But we've created what we call our 4 steps to market domination. And it's a companion video series and a PDF guide that just walks you through identifying how to segment your market and your customers and your list and how to create messages for that audience and how to set it up in Sales Nexus. But just those first 2 pieces, even if you're not using Sales Nexus, can be a very valuable guide. We've built it to make it easy for customers to get started with Sales Nexus, to start seeing results quickly. But I encourage you to take advantage of it, even if you're not a Sales Nexus customer. We can also schedule a time to just talk more specifically about your needs and how we might be able to help you. And one way or the other, you can rest assured that since you've shown up in our webinar, you're going to be getting a call and some emails from our team because we've got automated campaigns that make sure that happens. So we'll be reaching out to you here very shortly. Okay, well, I appreciate everybody's time. We went a little bit over the hour and I appreciate everybody sticking in there with us. Like I say, you'll be getting an email with links to sign up for the masterclass, start a free trial, get the 4 steps to market domination. If there's anything at all that I can do to help you be successful, feel free to reach out to me directly. Again, appreciate everybody's time and have a great rest of the day.